Well, this is it, and here we go with another great edition of Inside EMS. EMS Week. We are coming to the end of EMS Week. And here with me to see the end of another great EMS Week is our good friend, Kelly Grayson, the one we call KG. KG, what's going on?
Oh man, just usual. Just continuing the Kelly Grayson EMS World Tour. I'm at the Swamp Rabbit Pre-Hospital Emergency Medicine Conference this week, wrapping up EMS Week and having a good time at it. And thankful to be alive. Thankful there's nothing like celebrating surviving a DVT and a pulmonary embolus like an 8-hour car drive to get to a conference.
Right.
So
yeah, that is kind of. But you're still on all that.
Thank
medicine.
God for Eliquis.
Yeah, I was going to say you're still on all that medicine, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
Yeah,
but man,
I'm still on the vascular Drano.
You can't fly to where? What's a Swamp Rabbit? What the heck's that?
Well, it's in South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and it's a great show. And Scott Weingart is here, and I'm fangirling big time. So, yeah, I could fly there, but the way the connections work and my layovers, I would spend as much time in airports to get there from BFE, Louisiana, as I would in the car. So I just hop in the car and drive.
So really interesting. So,
oh, that's a nice mug. Where's mine?
The Inside EMS mug, by the way. I did buy mugs for you too, but when I heard that you may die, I was kind of hedging my bets. So I was kind of holding it back. But now that I know you're going to be okay, I'll go ahead and put them in the mail to you so you can have your Inside EMS mug as well.
Okay. So, thanks for your faith in me, man.
No, I was actually going to figure out how do I get down to Pitkin to see what else you have there that I could put my hands on. So, you never know what you could pick up. So
I'll leave some of my guns, see if that's.
Oh, that'd be nice, man. That'd be really awesome.
Yeah.
And I'll shoot them with pride and think about the anatomy of a pew when I do. If you haven't read Kelly Grayson's article, Anatomy of a Pew, go ahead and check that out. But man, your books are doing good too, Kelly. So
yeah.
I'm really excited. Every time you're coming up with a little short story, it's really kind of cool. But #1 bestseller again. So congratulations.
Yeah, 3 in a row. So
yeah, very cool. But today we're going to talk about EMS Week. The theme this year is EMS, where emergency care begins. And, a lot of great things happened EMS Week, and we really kind of focused on where EMS care begins, where emergency care begins. And we all know that Wednesday is the day that we give recognition to the EMSC, EMS for Children. Our good friend Bob Waddell is responsible for that all them years ago. And I always think about him specifically on the Wednesday of EMS Week for all the work that he did and getting recognition for EMSC and working with kids during EMS Week.
Yeah, and as a former state EMSC coordinator, it's a area that's near and dear to my heart as well. So Bob's a stellar advocate for pediatric education in EMS.
And I don't know where he's been. I haven't talked to him in a lot of years. Mentor of mine and taught me a lot of things. Was very how do you say gave me a lot of leeway to be who I was and accepted me for the flaws. But then as we started to grow together in our friendship relationship, was a great teacher as well. So Bob, if you're out there, cheers to you. We think about you every year around this time. Let's catch up. But anyway, so when we think about where emergency care begins, Kelly, one of the things that you talk about and you've said on the show for 10 years or so is that we should really have EMS Week 51 weeks a year and then take the, this EMS Week off. And one of the things that's really
somewhere.
That's right. But one of the things that's really interesting is, the work that I do in the community paramedicine space, and now we get off the EMS Week thing for a minute and deal with the people that work inside the insurance companies. When I say to them, this is what paramedics can do, this is what community paramedics can do, I can't count the number of times people say to me, wait a minute, paramedics can really do that? I mean, this is 2023, man.
Yeah.
And you're telling me that you don't know, but then I have to remember to step back to say, who's teaching them this? Who's teaching them this is what we do?
That's right. And that's one of the things, that we've, and I don't agree with you that community paramedicine has nothing to do with EMS week. It has everything to do with EMS week, because advocacy is what this is all about, and we as a profession has kind of fallen down on the job for quite a while on educating the public about the capabilities of EMS and the obstacles and hardships that we face, and that's what EMS week is all about, and our capabilities. And I think we did a fine job of highlighting that during the COVID pandemic, showing how hard we work, the obstacles and dangers we face, and what we are capable of doing. And I hope that we capitalize and maintain that momentum. And the first to respond is a perfect way to do it. You know, I do quibble with the slogan every year. You know, I'm never quite satisfied with the slogan that NAEMSP comes up with, but you know, until my Legion of Flying Monkeys completes my quest for world domination, I'll just have to go with what they come up with. But it's a good slogan. I think we need to leverage our advocacy and teach the real first responders, the public, about what's appropriate to call EMS for and what they can do to kind of crowdsource that early care.
And one of the things that I spoke about this week quite a bit was, when we think about EMS, where emergency care begins, it really is with the folks that are in the communication center. And I think they're being forgotten in this process when we talk about where emergency care begins. I don't like that smile you got there, but where emergency care begins really starts with those callers and those, you know,
I love my dispatcher.
Sure, you got no choice but to stay that. You know,
I've got a little doll of my dispatcher that
I'm sure you do. And I was actually in Lafayette, and when I went to take a tour of the Acadian Communication Center, I was talking to the manager there. I said, "Take care of my good friend Kelly Grayson." And for some reason, the conversation ended right there. He walked away.
Oh, they've been taking good care of me, really good care of me.
I don't know what happened, but anyway, I think we were forgetting, and I reminded people a lot this week that we have to remember the work that the call takers do.
Yeah.
The dispatchers are getting those vehicles en route even before, you know, being able to sense, you know, what the call type is going to be and what the priority is going to be, and they get them rolling even before, you know, those that call is really completed. But we've got to remember those call takers who take a lot of verbal abuse, you know, who are really in the first link of that chain of survival, and that's where emergency care begins before we even get on scene.
Yeah, and you know, it's undoubtedly it's a high pressure, high stress job, and I don't give dispatchers enough credit. I sometimes am frustrated with the relationship and with dispatch and EMS at my agency, but it's one of those things. It's one of those things where they're shorthanded just like we are. Yeah. And that reflects and that affects their efficiency as well as it does us. And I don't see it from the other side. They have to juggle less trucks than they normally would have, and their resources are stretched thin. I would like to point out that the emergency telecommunicators have their own dadgum week, and it's earlier in the week, and we could talk about field EMS now.
Okay, but let's go ahead and do that. You know, so one of the things that I think that we need to think about is, you know, when we think where emergency care begins, you said it, you know, really well, that it should begin in the community as well. And I think EMS over the years, and I was really kind of working with a lot of agencies this week on some of their community-based education, where we think about stop the bleed programs, where we think about AED training, where we think about, you know, CPR training. And I think that we've done a really great job. I mean, even I was talking to an agency about the babysitting classes that they do to prepare, you know, to prepare the graduates over the summer, that they're able to do babysitting with CPR and with first aid classes. And they even do things where they change diapers, where they put peanut butter and they put the diaper back on, so the kids will have to learn how to change diapers. I mean, but the ingenuity.
Do they use different substances depending on the age of the
That's
baby? It's
stop
like
right
peanut
there.
butter for
Stop
certain
right.
ages, guacamole for others,
They may use,
Nutella.
they may use chunky peanut butter, um, but one of the things that I think that I was really impressed with was the different EMS agencies that have the different community education programs. Because, you and I talk about this all the time, and I just kind of mentioned it from the insurance company side, is they don't know what we do. But being
Yeah.
able to educate and being able to be in the community and a cornerstone of that really kind of helps those processes.
Yeah. And it's ultimately a local phenomenon, a local solution. If you've seen one EMS agency, you've seen one EMS agency. And it's nice that the agencies that do this community outreach and education find solutions that fit their particular needs. And Stop the Bleed, AED, public access defibrillation programs, and that sort of thing. Even the simple things of educating the public on what is and what is not an emergency and what warrants an ambulance. I think that the COVID pandemic proved pretty conclusively that we can educate people on when it is appropriate to call an ambulance and when not. We did that effectively during the COVID pandemic, and people were not calling unless they were very sick and legitimately needed an ambulance. And I would hope that in the years going forward that we can capitalize on that and leverage that education to spread beyond just pandemic diseases and that sort of thing.
Yeah. One of the things that I think we have to remember is we talk about this all the time. We've created the environment that we're in, right? And I
Yes,
think we've
yes, we
said that on
created
this
this
show
monster.
for a lot of years, right? We talk about we wanted everybody to call 911. We wanted everybody to go to the ER because that's what they wanted as well. And now as we start to re-educate people, I don't know that we're doing a good job of it, Kelly. One of the
No.
things that I think we really need to start to think about is how does telehealth, how does telemedicine really work in the 911 process as well? Because that may be something where you're able to, if you're using priority dispatch, and there are some agencies that are using nurse triage, can we use nurse triage, or can we use nurse practitioner triage to actually do telehealth, get medicines prescribed, have a community paramedic show up? So when we think about what the EMS agencies look like in the future, where emergency care begins, can it begin with a telehealth visit? Or,
Yeah.
some people who are doing this with the ET3 model, where are doing, they're doing telehealth in the home with a provider at the other end. We have to think about this, but we created the environment. Now what we have to do is
Yeah.
recreate the environment. And we're a little bit slow at it because I've been saying we've created the environment that we're in since we started the first community paramedic programs in 2007 and 2008. Now, 15 years later, I'm still saying, we created the environment that we're in,
Yeah.
and we don't do anything
Yeah.
fast, it seems.
No, but well, we gripe really fast. But as far as paradigm shifting changes, no, we're kind of slow. But we're making inroads. It's getting more and more common. More and more of our medics and more of our agencies are embracing mobile integrated healthcare and community paramedicine programs. My own agency, in my ops area, every paramedic is empowered, and the EMTs now as well are empowered to do treatment in place for the patients who meet those criteria, and alternate destination transports, and we're doing more and more of those. And this is something that my employers invested in a big way. And personally, I think it takes. I have noticed that it takes a little bit of the burden off the system, clears our trucks faster. The patients that I have done TIP with have been satisfied with the experience, and it's worked well for them.
So one of the things, I mean, if you were going to develop a picture, a portrait of where EMS, where emergency care begins, right? So now as we come to the end of EMS week, we really should have talked about this last week, but when we think about what we need to do for the next 52 weeks before EMS week comes back around, how do we capitalize on this theme and really kind of assist our community in developing the best education they can for their own care?
I think we realistically educate people on the capability of EMS to respond quickly, which is decreasing somewhat, and has that has been a problem with every major EMS agency for years, is maintaining their response time standards. And it's time that we really start educating the public on what is a realistic and measurable and clinically relevant response time. And part of that is going to be, when is it appropriate to call EMS? And don't expect an ambulance in 4 minutes or less for something that has been going on for a month and is not time sensitive in any way. I don't think we need to take the cable installer route, sometime next Tuesday between noon and 5 p.m. But if we can continue the inroads we've made in educating the public about when it is and is not to summon EMS and call 911, then I think that we can start having an intelligent discussion about response times, and everything else flows from that. Chris, where do most of our staffing standards and that sort of thing, they all flow from trying to get enough trucks to maintain a response time standard. Once we start talking about when it is appropriate to call EMS and how quickly we should get there, and start looking at that with a little more focus, then I think it's going to revolutionize how many paramedics we need, how many trucks we need on the road, what those trucks are going to do, everything else. We just kind of shift the paradigm as for what EMS is supposed to be for the community. And that's what we need to focus on in the coming year.
You may want to leave that pocket open, because every time that thing falls out of your ear, it falls right into your pocket. So you may.
Yeah, I have that. I have it just perfect.
It was like the fourth time you did that, man.
So you might want to leave needs to make a Kelly-shaped AirPod.
Yeah. So, one of the things that's interesting, though, is when we talk about this, I think one of the things that we need to think about is having less ambulances on the street and more community paramedics that can respond to 911 calls with the ambulance. And if it's truly not an emergency and something that they can work on, that they should, just put the ambulance back in service and do whatever magic they're going to do in their bag of tricks.
Yeah.
And when we think about this from the standpoint,
leaner, more efficient EMS.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think if we want to talk about lean, you got the systems that are doing the nurse triage, and, they're going deeper into the, priority dispatch protocols and the Omega side. And that could be where they're saying, let me send a paramedic. You don't need an ambulance, but I'm going to send a paramedic to your home. And I think that's what's going to be lean and efficient. But until you can get there and have a nurse on your staff that can do that and take that liability for the agency, it doesn't hurt to send even 2 EMTs in a truck with a community paramedic. And then if it's a BLS call or something that the EMTs can handle, which means we have to train our EMTs to be, give them a little bit more knowledge, give them a little bit more empowerment, give them a little bit more skill. And then we're able to, work with putting the ambulance back in service and dealing with getting them an appointment at an urgent care, or getting them an appointment at their physicians, or reaching in and handing them a couple of pills until they can get with there. But when we think about the EMS agency of the future, where care begins, where emergency care begins, it doesn't have to begin in an ambulance.
No, and it doesn't have to begin with it doesn't have to involve a paramedic either. This is, the plain fact is the vast majority of the patients that we transport only need BLS level care and only receive BLS level care. And I think if we start to empower our BLS providers and educate them better, as you said, we can be leaner and more efficient, and do, like I've said in the past, and say, do away with the ALS intercept and replace it with the BLS intercept, and make EMS the as Nancy calls it, the Navy SEALs of emergency care. Small, exquisitely trained cadre that punches far above their weight class as far as efficiency goes. And that's what I would like to see in the EMS of the future.
Right.
Less ambulances on the street, utilized more efficiently.
No, I think you're right. I mean, we want to be able to probably become a community health agency that sometimes has to do ambulance calls. That's what I think we need to
Yes,
look at. But
exactly.
Kelly, let's go ahead and put the wraps on another EMS week. Let's get up on out of here, and we'll see you next week.
Yeah, and folks, the slogan for this week is EMS where emergency care begins. And what are you doing to help emergency care begin in your community? What community outreach are you doing? And do you have a cool Inside EMS mug like Chris Cebollero has that I don't? I would like to point out again. But we'd like to hear what you're doing in your community to both advocate for EMS week and to celebrate EMS week, and what you're doing to educate the community that your agency serves. We'd like to hear your thoughts at the show at ems1.com. And for myself and co-host Chris Cebollero, guys, happy EMS week, and we'll catch you next week. Thanks for tuning in to Inside EMS.